All right, so one of the themes that comes up a lot in these mixers is transitions. And I've noticed in your guys' background, you guys have also had certain transitions in your life. And that makes sense because you're not going to be at the same place, the same job for the next 30 years of your life. I don't think very many people are. And, you know, this is something that comes up often. You guys had this question posed as the mixer. So my question is, what is some tips, some advice for folks that are thinking about making a transition, whether that's a transition from Big Law to going solo or solo into Microsoft or Amazon or another corporation, or, you know, maybe thinking about going from a transition into just one practice area to another? So who'd like to take that one first? Linda.
Okay, I'm up. Yes, I have had transitions in my career. I started actually in legal aid, fresh from law school. That was something that I thought I wanted to do for my entire career, and I loved it. And then after a few years, decided private practice was a better idea for me financially and for other reasons. So I think that now we're in a time when it's more difficult to get mentorship in different work environments. And so my best advice to attorneys who want to transition, whether it's from one firm to another or one practice area to another, is to really take it upon yourself to do your homework. I think that there are certain ideas about the grass is sort of greener in this other practice area, or I think it'll be better if I go in-house versus working in a law firm. And I think really just reaching out and finding people who are doing the thing that you want to do and asking them out for coffee and trying to take it beyond that, seeing if you can even help them out by researching something that they're working on, or, do things for free because it's valuable to you. And you're going to have to do that on your own time, I think, but really making sure before you leave your current situation that this is something that you really want to do and something that you can make a go at it is so important. So preparation is key.
So agree with all of that. In fact, the thing that kind of dawned on me as I was listening to that is, I think the answer to that is pretty much the same as the answer to the last question, right? So, your comment about homework was about networking. Although the nice thing about, I agree about doing your homework, but, if you approach it with that, same curiosity, etc., it won't feel like homework. It'll be an exploration. You're exploring, you're going on adventure, all these sorts of things, and learning the things that you're curious about. And I think you've listened closely to what their paths were, and whether the path will work. When you've got to have a pretty open mind, I think a lot of people come to the notion of a transition that they're going to go from point A to point B, and actually maybe something in between. Maybe they need to get some credentials. Maybe they need to, do something else. Maybe they need to do volunteer work on the side, all these other sorts of things. But all the really good transition things I've been a part of have been because of a network. And my main things were, of course, going from private practice to in-house, and I did that because of people I knew. I was also ready for that, but that made all the difference. And within Microsoft, I've been very fortunate because, they encourage people to reinvent themselves from time to time. But again, it's about the people that you know and being recruited by people who, liked your work before. But the great thing about the legal practice, and people talk about it as being like a professional liberal arts degree, is this ability to be so many different kinds of lawyers. And when you're thinking about a transition and you might want to do something, be open to to be inspired to do something entirely different. Not only is the subject matter different, but the pace of law is different in different practices. When I've done trademark, which is so different than the work I did for M&A, which is so different to the work I did for venture companies and whatnot, and you just will find something that will suit you. But you gotta let the wind take you where it will.
And actually, just to kind of follow up with this, since we're talking about transitions, one of the transitions that I'm really curious about both of you guys is when you went from being a mentee to a mentor, or in what situations, like when you're so new into the practice of law, you're just really learning and absorbing, and you're trying to get your arms wrapped around everything. So what was kind of, if you can think back to, or maybe, you're still a mentee in certain regards. We're all life learners. We should be, right? Mm-hmm. But, what maybe are some key moments or some maybe tips or advice that you guys have for people that are making that transition from where they've been a new lawyer, or they've been a young lawyer, or they've been a mentee, and now really they can take that step to be a mentor, right? What does that look like?
I think actually that at every step of your career, you're sort of both a mentee and a mentor. So maybe the only point at which you're only a mentee is when you're just brand new. But even when you're in your second year, you could be a mentor to a first year, right? Within firms, I know that they have that kind of structure. I know that at my table today, there was a woman there who I think has attended these past events as a mentor, but that day she chose to be a mentee, and we were going back and forth and learning from each other. So I think having both the confidence to know that you have something to offer at all times, and also the openness to accept information coming your way, and that it's not so much a jump from being a mentee at one stage to becoming a mentor at the next, but just a continuous kind of back and forth flow is kind of how I view myself.
So yeah, I agree with all of that. And it's especially even when you're first year, you can be mentoring other first years and folks who are in law school. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of that, the cycle of life. And I've been practicing for 20 years, but hey, I experimented and got a job coach for a while. So I mean, you can do all sorts of things. I mean, and that's something executives do all the time. Not that that's me, but you can do it. But I guess the other thing is, listening to your question, I think, boy, what was like the one thing? Well, there hasn't been, right? But that's okay. I mean, some of these things I've sort of put together not based on what specific piece of advice, but sort of it's like the networking thing and realizing how good it is, or how, that sort of experience. It can be something that's gradual. Confidence happens over time. Those sorts of things. So if you are engaged in a mentorship relationship and you're wondering, why did you don't have 5 new clients set down the road? I mean, this stuff takes time. Relationships take time. And the things that you wind up learning may not be the things that you set out to, but they're just as valuable.
Agreed. I think my last point would be to always be open to new opportunities at any stage of your career. For me, some of my transitions happened like when I was at Legal Aid. I became the union steward because we were a unionized workforce. And then my next job in private practice was with a union-side labor law firm. And then from there, I got more into employment law. And so each thing was a gradual transition and learning and finding mentors within my workplace or outside and taking those opportunities and turning them into what I wanted them to be.
And that's something you can also look for in a job. Mm-hmm. Is the ability to do other things. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you really like what you're doing, you want to go deep. That's one thing. If you're the person that's kind of restless, look for opportunities where you can be restless.
Yes.
Well, thank you both so much. This is such great insight, and I'm hoping that the rest of the membership is listening to this and gaining some of that same insight. Thanks.
Thank you.